that all in all of you are vulnerable to a specific CVE, for example. So please fix this, and here are the instructions to do that. Or it could say there's a specific issue in this medical device. If you use this medical device, please do this. And the idea is that with an aggregate view, it gives a better information to the whole community. And again, there is an algorithm that helps in doing that. So comparing it to comparing the global with the local. The global, there's one score for a sectoral. The local, there's a score in each hospital, and you can also have multiple RAMA scores in the hospital. And all of this is organized in a relatively nice way. And going into the GUI, which I'm going to show next. I'm going to skip that. Okay. So the GUI is shown here. There are several screens. The idea is that what we want to do is on this side, on the right hand side, you have a view of the generic screen. So you have the generic scores of the hospital, and you have information about each of the locations that are present, that have been segmented into the hospital, such as, for example, here in this particular use case, each clinic, so gynecology, or nephrology, pulmonology, things like that. I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea what these actually do. And then there is a more detailed view where you can see, for example, with respect to the machine learning, what kind of detection happened, and where and whether the event was treated. And finally, there is a more detailed view which allows you to inspect what happened with a specific device, and there's a temporal representation that indicates what kind of if the event was kind of normal, or if it was critical or severe, and how this evolves over time. And typically, the idea is that the operator will see the result of his actions in this kind of screen. Thank you very much for listening. I'm now open to questions. Hopefully, you may have some.
Yes, actually on the Q&A tab already too. So maybe.
Okay, so let me try to elaborate a little bit then on the challenge. So fundamentally, in a hospital, doctors, when they need to treat a patient, they rely on communicating with one another, or communicating with other staff, such as the nurses. Let me give you an example. A doctor gives a treatment to a patient. Today, the nurse, when she has the cart with the medicine, the cart is computerized, and so there's a need of a transfer from the doctor's computer to the cart that will tell the nurse, here's the kind of medicine you should give to this patient. Here's the quantity. Here's the dosage. Things like that. And this goes across services in the hospital. For example, you have a doctor that needs to have information about sends a patient to an analysis lab. The results need to come back. All of this is computerized. So it's very difficult to filter inside the organization. Plus, there's a culture of trust in these environments, which make it quite permeable to basic attack techniques. So this makes it extremely challenging. There's also an additional trend towards putting healthcare in remote places. So the hospital remains the central place, but you put medical offices in villages. And so you rely, the medical offices rely on having easy communication to the hospital to provide care. And so all of this makes it extremely complicated to secure. And there's a second question about sharing of sensitive data in the public interest. So actually, it's a very good question. It's actually one of the use cases. In Norway, we are cooperating with a hospital which is caring about patients that are sick from diabetes, and there is also a national diabetes registry in Norway. And so what happens here is that the desired way of sharing the data is that the patient shares its data with the doctor so that the doctor can recommend treatment about diets, about insulin injections, about medicaments, about weight monitoring, this kind of thing. But the National Diabetes Authority is also interested in understanding how diabetes occurs in Norway to provide recommendations to the general population so that they don't become sick. And so the point here is that there's a need, there's a legitimate, even a legal need for data sharing between hospitals and the national registry. This happens manually, or this happens in undesired ways today. For example, the national registry has certified a number of glucose monitoring devices, some of them by American manufacturers. The way these devices work is that the patient has a device. He needs to upload an app in his smartphone. The smartphone will talk to the device, and the data will be uploaded to the cloud of the American provider of the device. And then the doctor in Norway goes to the cloud of the medical device manufacturers in the US to look at the data. And then some of the data goes back to the national registry. I'm not a DPO, but I think you can all imagine what is wrong with these kind of scenarios in terms of data protection. Plus, in terms of general healthcare, we're also giving away data that may be useful for us in Europe to design new treatments. So there are clearly issues with the way we manipulate data that need to be solved, and that's what we hope to do. So by providing this privacy-aware framework, so that people understand when they put data in there, for what purpose the data will be used, and they can specify what their acceptance or not. The blockchain is a bit different. The blockchain is really about auditing if it goes wrong, so that hospitals or regulators can come to a certain place and decide and understand if the data was shared in the intended way and trace back any issues. So the blockchain is really just, it doesn't host medical data per se. And upfront, we decided hosting medical data in the blockchain was a bad idea. So we only host metadata. I hope I've clarified the things. Any other questions? Okay, so I think back to the next speaker then.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can continue with puzzle now. There is a follow-up.
Yeah. So healthcare data is proprietary. Yeah, that is true. So we have a general solution for fire records, and that is about standardized. When we want to get closer to certain devices, we have one example where we have a device that monitors an expectant mother for child delivery. And clearly, yes, there are proprietary protocols. There are even strange ways of connecting these devices to the main to the main hospital IT. So yes, unfortunately, in some cases, it's not as easy to interject our tools as we would like.
I have a question regarding blockchain. So you use Hyperledger. Do you have a specific protocol? It's a permission, I understand. Do you use a protocol for participants to enter and to read the data, or it's completely open for everyone?
No, it's not open to everyone. It's only open. So we use a basic access control mechanism. Actually, you can also only access the blockchain through the privacy-aware framework. And then, so writing to the blockchain is controlled by the privacy-aware framework. So you need to be authenticated to the path in order to do so. And export, it goes to the so the visibility of the log goes to the aggregator, and then to the second layer GUI. So again, it's read only on that direction.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the point of the blockchain is also that mostly that it's distributed. So when you have a distributed environment, such as nowadays hospitals are, or healthcare environments in general, it helps that everyone can log to the same blockchain.
Thank you. Clear.
Okay, I think we could move on with the presentation of Puzzle. Thank you very much, Mr. Debar. So moving on with Jasna Komatovic.
Yes, hello, Justin. Yes, hello everyone. I hope that you can see my screen and it's a full screen.
Yes.
Great. Hello everyone. My name is Jasna Komatovic and I'm a communication and dissemination team member in Puzzle and marketing manager in Vojvodina ICT cluster, which is of course one of the consortium partners in the project. A brief overview of Puzzle. The project is set to design and implement state-of-the-art cybersecurity, privacy, and data protection management framework. The project started in September 2020. It lasts until the end of August this year. Of course, as many of the Horizon 2020 projects, it's a 3 years project. The project is going to provide monitoring and visualization tools, as well as a dashboard where information regarding sets of assets, vulnerabilities, identified threats and risks is going to be made available to end users. So we will try to help SMEs and micro enterprises to monitor risks to their digital security, privacy, and data protection by analyzing the hardware and software assets within the SME's boundary. So selected as one of the most innovative new approaches in cybersecurity by the European Commission a few years ago. The project aims to strengthen cyber safety, also considering post-threat mitigation, revolving around optimal security policy recommendation, and filling an important security gap for many SMEs, but also citizens on post-threat mitigation. So through state-of-the-art technologies, including artificial intelligence, trust computing, and blockchain, SMEs and MEs will enhance their security and efficiently process information flows and online collaboration, knowledge sharing. So as an overview, as you can all see, we have summarized the most important parts in several points, such as development of an easy to onboard and easy to deploy cybersecurity services marketplace for enterprises, conceptualization and development of cyber threats and data modeling and risk assessment models, personalized cybersecurity functions per business, enhanced operational assurance and detection capabilities, automated orchestration of advanced security deployments, tools and mechanisms for continuous cyber warfare trainings and cyber technology development. The Puzzle Consortium consists some of the strongest European players in cybersecurity and brings together multidisciplinary competences and resources from the academia, industry, and research communities. Puzzle comprises 13 partners representing research institutes, universities, technology providers, also infrastructure providers, industrial partners, including 8 SMEs and MEs from 8 European Commission member states, but also with unassociated countries. The mission, almost all of us know and are very aware that the cyber attacks and malicious online activity can cost companies everything, equally bigger and smaller. Protecting organizations is the paramount for the project. We will enable a new mode of security and verification for mixed critically services running at various levels in the overall SMEs and MEs business ecosystem stack. So to turn the business ecosystem into a real-time verified, governed by security enablers to safeguard correct state of all assets during the entire life cycle of operation, also attestation and or verification and threat intelligence data sharing. Motivation is based on challenges to give all European SMEs and MEs access to comprehensive security operation solutions that are appropriate to their circumstances, affordable to keep pace with escalating threats and innovation in technology, but also in practice. The following value propositions are important for Puzzle. Develop a cybersecurity, privacy, and data protection management framework, facilitate the collection, processing, and exchange of data, and but also knowledge sharing among SMEs respecting cyber threats and vulnerabilities, to provide a set of network and edge security functional service, suggest optimal mitigation strategies and policies to support their enforcement, to increase cybersecurity situation awareness of SMEs and MEs through an innovative set of monitoring goals. Concept behind the technology is a flexible platform that runs a number of complementary security services for detection and analysis and feeds them with the appropriate context from a dynamic and evolving system. About the open call, Puzzle validation contracts call, it's closed, and a short overview from my side about it because it's very important. Puzzle came up with a validation contracts concept. The aim is to provide SMEs and MEs who deal with cybersecurity, privacy, personal data protection, a set of tools and solutions or varied sophistication levels to allow them to benefit from the innovation and targeted solution that the Puzzle marketplace offers, addressing their specific needs and available resources. So through the validation contracts or context or open call that we launched last year, the interested parties were invited to present their ideas on how the Puzzle marketplace could complement the development activities of product or service they are already providing to their customers to prove the applicability, usability, and value of the concepts, models, and most important, real-life conditions. In the open call, the project sought the use cases from IT-based and non-IT-based SMEs and MEs with the overall objective to evaluate the marketplace from two perspectives. From the end user perspective for SMEs in various verticals and domains, and validation from cybersecurity vendors and providers trying to extend and add their service that they are existing in the markets and to be used as an extra service. So the selection process was performed by an evaluation committee, but in order to guarantee a successful and smooth collaboration with the potential applicants, we proceed to an additional evaluation phase composed of individual interviews. Validation contracts will award selected applicants or beneficiaries a grant of 10,000 euros after a successful validation process. The contracts partners who successfully pass the selection process, who met the criteria, technical requirements, and focus themselves as innovation character and originality of the idea, challenges and relevance of the problem dealt with, knowledge of technical or related matters, feasibility and construction of demonstration, and of course, quality of the presentation. So execution of validation contracts activities is 10 months, and during that period, based or beside the integration, testing, etc., through a series of innovation workshops to be held with the participants in the contracts. The project will also deliver cybersecurity awareness trainings and share best practices for SMEs so that along technical improvements in their cybersecurity, companies are also be able to implement a better cybersecurity culture within their organizations. So we strive to work proactively in every aspects of the projects. The overall objective is to evaluate the puzzle marketplace from two perspectives, as I already mentioned, from the end user perspective for SMEs, also startups, I forgot to mention that, but also from cybersecurity providers who are trying to extend their services in the puzzle framework. So the common objective for SMEs and cybersecurity vendors is to validate the overall puzzle marketplace and to put the project in the phase that can come up with a validation framework. From this perspective, Puzzle will be in a position to do user acceptance testing, independent from the predefined use cases or to the extent of the cybersecurity services that will be provided. So we still have a lot of work ahead of us, 8 more months, and the project is in a very good shape in this phase. Of course, more details about the technical aspects of the parties during the panel session, all information, details, technical blog posts or other activities, and overview of them are available on our website and also on social networks. So I'm at your disposal for questions, comments, any thoughts. I suppose, Jason and Dikta, back to you again.
Okay, so if there are any questions, maybe raised on the chat or...
I will be happy to answer them. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for your presentation. We are to take a 15 minutes coffee break. I guess we could do the whole 15 minutes. So back, we are a bit ahead of time. So back at 11:15, 11:20, let's say, Central European time. Okay, so let's take a break here. Okay. Yes, I guess we should be continuing now with the Sentinel project. Mr. Cyranous Karmazian. Probably, yes, let me see.
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Hello? Yeah, sorry. It was a problem with my microphone.
Oh, okay.
Well, hello everyone. Everybody, my name is Cyranous Karmazian. Just to share the screen as well. All right. So, I guess you can see my screen now.
Yes, full screen.
All right, so, okay. Hello again, everybody. Nice to meet you all online together with this joint cybersecurity webinar. I'm representing the Sentinel project from the coordination team from ITML, which is a company located in Greece. We're coordinating this project. So the outline of the project is that I will briefly present the Sentinel as a whole, its objectives, architecture, modules, plugins that we are developing in the project, some information about validation, use cases, and what are the offerings of Sentinel. So Sentinel at a glance, it is an European project. It has 13 partners. It's an innovation action with a maximum EU contribution for million. It have started in June 2021 with the duration 36 months. We are in the middle of our project, month 18. And are preparing ourselves for the review meeting. So before moving on, it's important to stress out what is the motivation of Sentinel. So we are motivated to help support SMEs. Because they need protection and they currently face challenges. So they have some based on several literature reports. They have a violation of individuals' privacy and rights. They have operation downtime or data losses, and of course they have GDPR fines. And in between, they face of challenges because of lack of awareness about personal data protection, cybersecurity, and how these two concepts are interconnected. And they lack of personal data protection, cybersecurity, or GDPR compliance due to mainly prices, commitment of resources, or complexities. And they are also it's for them it's challenging to mitigate risks. They have challenges of monitoring and troubleshooting their IT assets. So the statement of Sentinel and what we try to do is that the project provides a complete privacy and cybersecurity data protection suite that enables especially small and medium enterprises to achieve business security and to save both their and their customers' assets in an efficient and affordable manner. And three main sorry. It integrates security and privacy technologies into unified architectures. This is the first pillar, and the second is that with the project, we want to educate SMEs on GDPR requirements, and this is the first most important part, and how to achieve this compliance. And the project itself try to automate GDPR compliance and provision of recommendation for both cybersecurity and personal data protection, and also it provides tools and services to run real-time monitoring and treat the mitigation. As you can see, the project mainly focuses on GDPR compliance, but in the meanwhile, it tries to combine the compliance with also cybersecurity and to provide security as a whole for business sector. The key driver of the project is the GDPR Article 30, which is called the record of processing activities. What is this? It is a processing activity is a description of how an organization generally handles personal data, and it is an application for many companies. So of course, okay, depending on size and data types they handle. And Sentinel aims to help such entities to keep their record of processing activities in compliant with GDPR and also in an understandable manner. Okay, the objectives, we have 6 different distinguished objectives, and we try to accomplish all of them by the end of the project. So the first one is to develop and support an end-to-end digital privacy and personal data protection compliance framework together with the identity management system. To provide scientific and technological advances in SMEs and MEs, data protection compliance assessment, to provide tools and services that can help SMEs for enabling automated personal data protection compliance. Of course, we want to validate all the services and tools in real world settings, just to showcase that we really support the SMEs, these entities, to automatically and easily first be educated and then be compliant with GDPR. The project also tried to consolidate international and European leaks, raise awareness, and ensure that the outcome of the project is well disseminated, and also boost the effectiveness of the EU data economy by proposing and offering high DRL solution. And this is the very high level architecture of the project. We have distinguished the architecture in 4 main modules and also plugins. It is a very flexible architecture. The design is as from the perspective of plugins, we can integrate both partners technologies or open source technologies continuously within the duration of the project. So briefly about all the modules, especially of the Sentinel, it's of course it is the first one, My Sentinel, which is the Sentinel's visualization component and the primary dashboard. It aggregates data from all front-end components and provides visual insights into SMEs' progress towards achieving their cybersecurity or personal data protection goals. The second module, which is the self-assessment, it provides centralized storage and retrieval services for all SME data. Its core organization data, personal data processing activities, everything is stored in a profile service. It performs eligibility checks and enables related workflows, as well as it provides plugins which conducts a self-assessment capability and share the common Sentinel data model. The core is the common service, which is the centralized source for the Sentinel OTM classification, software tools, plugins. It also contains, stores the awareness, education, and training material. The basic component of this module is the recommendation engine, which generates a list of recommended OTMs, plugins, and trainings, and recommends to these SMEs in order to start executing this recommendation and becoming GDPR compliant. And also the policy drafting, another component of this module, which generates human readable policy drafts based on this recommendation. And implements and enforce the Sentinel reusable policy template. Finally, the last module is the observatory, which is actually a knowledge-based. Again, it provides a huge storage of information and also gives access to information collected from external open and data shared platforms. And information exchange is that every user can continuously monitor and collect information from open security data sharing platforms. Regarding the Sentinel validation and these use cases, we want to validate all our offerings and results in real-world settings by two distinct enterprises in the fields of geometric and social care. The first use case is it's a small microenterprise test case. They have a neat challenge regarding their security, their personal data platform, and they require extra security measures for assessing geometric sequence and personal data from a bioinformatic platform software pipeline. And the second enterprise is a small medium enterprise, which the focus of this test case is to homogenize the approach to data protection and compliance across multiple portfolio business through a single platform. Regarding use cases, these two pilots are going to test Sentinel by 7 different use cases that we have already successfully implemented within the Sentinel platform. The first use case is that SME make a registration and profiling. The next is the registered SMEs are completing a self-assessment workflow. Furthermore, based on this workflow, they are accruing policy recommendation, and they can also consult the observatory knowledge base. A next use case that based on all this information and the recommendation, they can do policy performance monitoring. In the meanwhile, they can do incident reporting and sharing, and receiving also security notifications. So just very briefly about these use cases is that the first step for everyone, for any SME that want to test the Sentinel outcome on the platform, is that they register their company and fills in the related questionnaire, and system stores a profile of the company. After that, the user completes a self-assessment workflow that has been proposed by the Sentinel platform, of course, adjusted to the SME profile and their data provided. Then the SME representative fills in the company security profile and performs related self-assessment task indicated by the system. And after this step, the system returns back a tailor-made set of security policies. The system detects, in the meanwhile, the system detects a cybersecurity and personal data protection incidents that affects an SME and send back an alert that the SME representative can attend it and take a note. Afterwards, the SME representative provides an update to the system concerning the status of implementation of the policies that have been provided based on the Sentinel recommendation engine. And in the meanwhile, the SME can anytime browse the Sentinel observatory knowledge base and access information about recently identified data or privacy breaches. And this knowledge base will continuously be updated and synchronized based on the external resources or some other information that can be any other user insert. The final use case is incident reporting and sharing. A security incident that has been detected and the SME wants to report. If SME wants to report, it can report and share it with appropriate response teams and or other open security data platforms. Having also presented the Sentinel use cases and its components and modules. This slide is just to simply present what is Sentinel and what are the main offerings of the Sentinel. So the first and most important part is to educate SMEs, and we want to assist SMEs to understand why individual data and this personal data need protection, and how generally these data processing activities can affect subject privacy. And in the meanwhile, to guide SMEs to understand what needs to be done in order to improve privacy and achieve compliance. The second pillar of Sentinel offerings is that it provides evidence-based GDPR compliance, and by providing one-to-one link between privacy requirements, measures or controls, their cyber assets, and also real-time monitoring. And the final most important pillar of the project that we want to achieve is that we provide automated compliance and recommendation. Through this automation, we want to cut costs, okay, for SMEs that and small enterprises that generally lack of the required resources in order to be GDPR compliant. And this we provide through GDPR compliance check. We are tailor-made recommendation policies in the meanwhile doing real-time monitoring and cybersecurity and privacy compliance. I think this was my last slide. So thank you for your attention. If you need further information, of course, these are the links for contacting and getting more information about the Sentinel. I would like to tell you that the Sentinel, the MVT platform, is open for everyone for testing and giving us feedback.
Okay, thank you, Cyranus.
Thank you so much. If there are any questions, please feel free to write now or.
Yeah, let's give it a few seconds.
Okay, of course.
It's Alexander here from Trapeze. I have a little question. The services like My Sentinel, is it a web-based or you are going to make an application like mobile?
It's for the moment, yes. Thank you, Alexander, for your question. For the moment, it is web-based. Of course, there is no plan to make it as an app, but this is a good remark, because generally apps can also increase the engagement of any user.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are other questions, maybe I could ask. I mean, okay, it's already a question that has been discussed many times over and over, but probably we could use your point of view on this and your experience from this project, meaning that, okay, the need for improvements in the cybersecurity and data protection for each company, it's acceptable. It's quite well known within our own circles in those projects. But what about SMEs? I mean, how ready and capable are SMEs to purchase services like that, platforms such as Sentinel? And I guess your plan, apart from, I mean, yeah, for increasing awareness within SMEs,
Yes.
includes any steps, specific steps?
Yeah, actually, yes, this is very not challenging, but user engagement, stakeholder engagement. Of course, this is a very important topic for all the project, as you mentioned. We are tackling this topic and trying to engage SMEs as much as we can from day one of the project. We have a dedicated task for this, which started month 1 and will last until month 36. What we do for the moment, we are trying to do special SME-centric workshop every 4 months, sorry, with our plenary meetings, trying to engage SMEs as much as we can. We have a dedicated task, which the purpose of this task is to engage SMEs through digital innovation hubs. Actually, in the middle of our project at the moment, we have approached around 40 digital innovation hubs, and we try to engage SMEs through these channels. Of course, we are not talking about the traditional way of engaging end users, but this is our approach to engage them as much as we can through organizing a special SME-centric workshop and trying just to talk interact with them. Okay, the level of their awareness, unfortunately, is not so high as we understood also from questionnaires that we are sharing with them, that they don't know. They know a very basic stuff about GDPR. In some cases, only the name of GDPR, and this is very a challenging process for them to understand that yes, they are in a category, and yes, they are a company that need to be compliant with GDPR. Okay, they don't know about the how to say the generic information, the concepts, the terms are very strange for them. The articles of GDPR compliance are very weird for them. The terminology, it's very difficult. Yeah.
Yes, and I completely agree, because we had I wouldn't say issues, but in Cityscape as well. I mean, we had to make a listing of our tools and prove that they are GDPR compliant, and finding a framework required a lot of effort, mainly done by our partners in UPRC, but it requires a lot of consistency. And yes, this is our point of view as well. Okay, I don't know if there are any other questions. Thank you for the answer as well.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you to you too.
If no other questions, we could move on with Trapeze.
Okay,
yes.
thank you. I'm trying to share my screen now. Just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, hello. My name is Alexander Vasilchenko. I represent Penforce Belgium, which is the technical coordinator of the Trapeze project. So I will try to do a little bit of a different trajectory of presenting the project, and beginning with a little personal note. So so basically, I was born in Ukraine, and believe me, before that slide was made, I was not I didn't know that these colors will become so popular, but I live in Belgium right now, so where TenForce is based. And these are my parents, who 3.5 years ago wanted to visit Belgium. And what they had to do, they had to fly from Ukraine to Belgium. And okay, as a normal citizens living outside of the European Union, my parents, they had to deal with a visa application. So for that, they had to provide some financial information statement, get the insurance, buy their tickets, and all this was in more or less a digital form. And then there is some exchange of their private data, the passport control. And of course, with the COVID pandemics, they also had to show their COVID passports, and thus they had to provide some special data, which is a medical data, their private medical data. And you would say, okay, that's all concerns people outside of the EU. We are a EU project, so probably that's not so many hurdles and data exchange which everyone would face as a European citizen living in Europe. Let's just take a simple and quite tedious task of a mobile banking we do pretty much every day or several times a day even. So once I wanted to check out at a supermarket, and I just pull up my phone. I wanted to pay through my mobile phone. And what I get a pop-up message in my mobile application that I have to accept updated regulations of my bank before I could proceed to any action. So I basically had the only option is to accept before the continue button, allowing me to basically pay with my own money, will become active. And it was an inconvenient case, and okay, I have to accept that, and I was proposed a file PDF file within these updated regulations, which of course, if I had time and desire, I could check. And out of curiosity, you probably could download each of you files, because I'm quite sure that pretty much everyone now and then gets into this situation. And if you try to look in this sort of file, it was a 47 pages of a refined legalese, which there was no way for me, standing with my groceries to check and understand what has been changed, while I'm standing at the checkout. Of course, I think in all these regulations, what had to happen is that, in fact, there are probably a couple of pages which essentially, highlights the changes, but there is no way to find them. And what about Article 12 of GDPR? So, which says that the controller shall take appropriate measures to provide any information and any communication relating to processing to the data subject in a concise, transparent, intelligible, and easy accessible form using a clear and plain language. I don't find that that document had a clear and plain language, and it was not suitable, and my service was interrupted from the bank by basically this document which I had to accept and had no other choice than to accept it without understanding much. Would it be nice to have a, say, automated state machine which could compare the previous agreement with the bank with that agreement which just popped up at the shop, and that service could check the the purposes of my personal data and my consent, which I give into the bank with new requirements at real time, and just give me some simple bullets saying, okay, that actually my consents are not, let's say, objectivized or not challenged now. And that I would just have a simple tick boxes saying, okay, if you accept this, you are fine to go with the updated regulation. And this case is pretty much concerns every aspect of our life or a life of European citizens. No matter whether it is concerns your relationship with the governments, where authoritative data is exchanged. We talked about the finance or reputation, your insurance, and everyday use of your personal accounts, social media, and so on and so on, also involves a privacy-sensitive data exchange, right? And policies and your consent attached to that, and being dynamically changed as the regulation improves and some kind of user-level agreements evolve. And we understand that all this data, whether somebody comes from outside Europe, inside Europe, or basically among all these institutions and different aspects of our life, all this data is in fact interrelated. And we want to have, as citizens, and we have actually legal rights to have a good overview what data is stored where and for what purposes is used. And if the data is exchanged, we want to have it to be exchanged in a secure and transparent for us manner. And not to say about our basic GDPR rights about right to be informed, right to access, to rectify or erase the data, rights to restrict the processing or data portability, our actually fundamental rights to object, and also now emerging rights regarding automated decision making. Yeah, it has to be all very transparent. And this way, a TRAPPIST project was basically conceived. We started in September 2020, and TRAPPIST stands for Transparency, Privacy, and Security for European Citizens. So the EU contribution of the project, just a little bit of 5 million, with the coordination of 10 force in Belgium. And the project is basically will have a usual duration of 36 months. This is our last year. We still have a little bit more than half a year to go. So the consortium objectives is, we have 3 main consortium objectives, is to empower citizens and establish a more trustworthy data economy by leveraging existing and emerging data, control, and processing decentralization technologies. We want to raise citizens' awareness of personal data processing risks and cyber threats. And also we are basically adamant to pilot the TRAPPIST solution in 3 distinct personal data processing scenarios. Among the 13 partners, we have 3 industrial partners representing telecom industry with Deutsche Telekom, financial industry, CaixaBank Spain, and a Flemish government. And as you recall my previous slide, this is in fact the representing 3 different aspects of our life and our digital information life cycle, personal data life cycle. So how do we work on this aspect? So we have we are bringing 3 like main key holders, stakeholders within the data protection under one holistic security and privacy resilience framework called the TRAPPIST platform. We are bringing together the citizens. I talked a lot about the citizens, but we also, through the platform, enable the data processing authorities to control and to overlook how the controllers or processors of our personal data, which is represented here in blue, process the personal data of citizens. So on the right-hand side, you see the high-level architecture of our solution. And the flow for each user of our platform, we start with a data process, personal data inventory. So what we do, we have an AI-driven module which creates data discovery and classification and identity correlation of all personal data stored at different controllers, and we linked it in one graph using linked data paradigm, and basically we semantify the data, your personal data, and apply to each data payload a sticky policy. I recall that in Sentinel there is also a policy as a concept also introduced, which was pleasant to hear. So in our case, sticky policy, it's a kind of a gluing policy information to the payload data persistently. And it was originally proposed in the Prime project and also then further developed in the Special project. And therefore, you see on the right-hand side, Special compliance engine, which we now take on to develop further in the Trapeze platform in the Trapeze project. So, and this sticky policy is essentially a kind of they enable machine readable expression and flexible management, or even some kind of difficult elaborate data policies, which allow automated compliance checking. So it's that's refined, written with very small font legalese language, which then translated and the machinable readable text. And when we have that agreement translated with your notions of your data or links to your data with the sticky policies, we have a representation which is very fastly can be checked in the real-time data. So we basically discover data and the policy attached to them, the policy and the name or type of the data we store in the consent and policy database, which is realized in the Hyperledger Fabric. As today's speaker of Hire said, that there is also the same technology was used of the blockchain framework, Hyperledger Fabric, which is also a permission blockchain where the controllers processes your information with the sticky policies attached. They essentially lock the Hyperledger Fabric allows to lock all the processing data and the compliance engine conclusions within this policy database, which is append only blockchain-based database. And also we have open security and privacy knowledge base proposed through the citizens portal on our website, trapezeproject.eu, where the events and like general information about privacy and security can be consulted by each stakeholder of the data protection. So what we have so far in the project, so we have established a strong web presence with the social media channels. We have a number of publications and dissemination activities. End of April, we are planning also a big Trapeze event in the south of France. So if any of the projects or anyone is interested to participate, please reach out to me. So what we've done, we created the compliance, privacy, and policy management framework, introducing reasoning algorithm, and introducing sticky policies in JSON and OAuth2 format. Basically, everything is compatible to be recorded in Hyperledger Fabric. And also we have a web interface for the data processing authorities or processors, basically companies providing the services operating with our personal data. And we also have mobile application for citizens in the form of wallet ID. And on the website portal, we also can have help desk, which allows us to the citizens to reach gamification assessment tool where they can train their skills on cybersecurity. And of course, there is a very detailed, I think it's already published, first version or even the second version of the deliverable on the platform itself, with the quite detailed architecture, component specifications, and some external and internal APIs. So that's more or less concludes our project. Please feel free to reach out through our website or social media channels, or simply to email contact@strapeze-project.eu. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And now I'm open to questions.
Well, if not any other, to my understanding, there is a request on behalf of the Commission regarding standardization. Perhaps we can address this, of course, on the second part. Feel free to keep this question for the second part. But what is mainly the steps you're taking to contribute to artificial intelligence related standardization activities? But feel free to keep this for part 2 as well. It's up to you.
So basically, I think it's good to discuss it in part 2 or more in detail, but we have W3C consortium on board, who is in fact at the core of the standardization for basically representing the OAuth2 format for sticky policies, which I think there is a very good overlap with the Sentinel project to kind of collaborate on this on this format. I really would like to elaborate this more on the second half of the today's webinar. Thank you. Very good question.
Okay, Alexander, thank you for your presentation as well. We could move on. So our last presentation for part 1 from Secant, Monica or Dimitris. Monica, okay.
Yeah, I will take the floor. So let me share my screen. If you confirm you can see it clearly.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Now we can, yes.
So hello everyone, and good morning. I'm Monica Caballero. I'm from Entity Data Spain, and I'm the project coordinator of the Secant project. So Secant is a project that it's aimed to strengthen the understanding of the risk, and it covers both the risk at the human but also at the technical level, and it aims to deliver an holistic framework for cybersecurity risk assessment in order to enhance the digital security, the privacy, and the personal data protection in complex ICT infrastructure, and its focus on the healthcare system. So it's coordinated by Entity Data with the support of Third as a technical coordinator, and Dimitris Caballeros is a technical manager that it's also in the call in order to support any more detailed or technical question. Let me start with some key facts. Second, it's a project that was submitted to the call of Threat Information Sharing and Analytics It has a duration of 36 months, and it was kicked off last September 21, and it will last until August 24. It has more than 6.5 million of euros of budget, with more than 5 million of European support. And in order to do that, it has a consortium of 20 partners from 10 different countries involving large ICT industries. We have also a great number of SMEs. We have research institutes and universities, healthcare organizations, non-profit organizations, and the Romanian CERT. If we want to start with the context and the main aim, well, the context is very similar, and I think it was the opening of the session today. All the changes the industrial sector are experiencing, and the new waves of threats and cyber threats that has come with all this interconnection, and more especially in complex ICT infrastructures. SECAN is focused on the healthcare sector, and this is a constantly increasing data-driven ecosystem that has nowadays more interconnected devices, shared medical databases, and networks. We already heard about the presentation of another project in this sector too. So more or less the challenges are clear. It's obvious that even in the case of this sector, where that it's so centered, that deals with so sensitive data, there is it makes this sector more attractive and profitable to cyber attacks. And in this environment where different kind of stakeholders, just the patients, starting from the patients with the healthcare providers, but also by other third parties that need to ensure that meanwhile the supply chain, all the different steps are protected. The second project thinks that there is a need to complement all the specific traditional platforms and the countermeasures to deal with attacks that the industry has developed. We need to complement that in order to understand better the risk, as I said, both at a human and technical level, to know what is happening. Especially the human factor, which is by default what we consider the weakest link, because it requires intensive cybersecurity education. And on the technical point, we think the risk needs to be understood and codified in ways that they can be monitored and prevented. So SECAN will aim to do that, delivering a framework for the cybersecurity risk assessment for enhancing the digital security, the privacy, and personal data protection in complex ICT infrastructures in healthcare. Thus, our main goal is to develop an automatic threat detection platform that is capable of identifying threats and attacks and promote at the same time the situational security awareness as a priority and in the healthcare ecosystem. SECAN rests 4 major pillars: digital security and privacy, data protection and accountability, collaborative threat intelligence, and cybersecurity awareness training. Those three, and through these pillars, SECAN will provide both its direct end users, which are the healthcare professionals and the ICT and security professionals, as well as the stakeholders in the industrial value chain, so in the healthcare value chain, improve cybersecurity readiness, increase privacy and data protection across the entire industrial chain, and reduce costs for managing risk and adopting digital security solutions, as well as for the security training. In turn, we aim to enable to make informed and context-aware decisions regarding cybersecurity, privacy, and data protection risk. These, the 4 pillars I just introduced, of SECAN translate into different major components. We will have a threat intelligence model, a cybersecurity assessment companion, a trust and accountability model, and a security awareness training. All of them are depicted in this conceptual diagram. And all of these will be integrated in a virtualized platform that will be offered as a platform as a service. So in this diagram, we have the bottom, the supply chain with the provider network, all the ICT network components. We have the health professionals and the patients that provide info to the or to the devices or directly to the network, since the access to different kind of systems. And on the other hand, those are one of our users. And on the other hand, we have the existing cybersecurity infrastructure and risk management team in the different healthcare organizations. Then we have our platform with our models. We will have also different kind of models to act as an interface for the users to the different platform services, and an interoperability layer to connect the both worlds. So let me comment a little more on these different models and what are the solutions we are now developing. The first one I want to comment is a collaborative toolkit to allow the organization stakeholders and as well as European CERS and CSERS to create and exchange dynamic vulnerability databases and taxonomies for cyber attacks. In here, we have two different models. The first one is the threat intelligence model. We call it a team that supports, it's the one that supports the creation of these databases of vulnerabilities and taxonomies, and has three submodels. One of them for collecting the threat intelligence from the supply chain stakeholders. A second one that report this intelligence to CSERS and CSERS. And the third one that is responsible to build the dynamic taxonomies for the cyber attacks. The second model, as I introduced, is the interoperability layer that it's need to act as a middleware between the medical equipment and the network and the second platform, and also will include a central repository for the platform as a whole. The second main model is a dynamic and evidence-based security and privacy risk assessment framework that will deal with the cascading effects of cyber attacks and with propagated vulnerabilities. In here, we are developing the cybersecurity risk assessment companion that will facilitate the decision-making and effective timely response to the risks that are detected, so they can be minimized. So this is composed by of four models. The first one, the Connected Organization Cyber Risk Assessment Engine, using input from the threat intelligence model, will identify the potential vulnerabilities. It will also assess the propagation through the supply chain and will propose treatment solutions. And then we have three different models that perform a dynamic analysis. The human vulnerability assessment that tackles the social engineering attacks. The technical vulnerability and impact assessment that identifies and isolates the propagated vulnerabilities in the ecosystem. And the behavior analytics engine that will identify suspicious patterns in the behavior of an entity, a device in the network. The third component is a trust and accountability model that, based on a distributed ledger technology, will be responsible to verify the integrity of the data in the platform and the supply chain. It will also establish security of devices and track provenance and integrity of their data. And it will also track the correct access to the data. So it will verify the centralized device identities, record devices data transactions throughout the different stakeholders and supply chains to ensure that there are zero error deliveries and that everything it's compliance to standards and can be auditable, can be edited. This model will rely on a distributed ledger technology, and it will be it's the Iota Tango technology, and it will be supported by two different submodels. The digital identity management that adopts the self-sovereign identity concept, and will enable, it will be the responsible to identify the devices, entities, and the users, and that interact in the supply chain. And the other model that includes or compose this trust and accountability model is a privacy toolkit. That it will be the one that ensures integrity of the communications between the cybersecurity professionals and the platform, and will rely on advanced encryption technologies to mediate all this information flowing through this trust and accountability model and the platform. Finally, we will need to some applications to interface or to access for our different users to the platform services, and also to provide training. So let me start by the training. Regarding the training, we are developing two different kind of models. One more oriented to security professionals, and this is the organizational cyber range that will allow these professionals to be trained using a simulated representation of the supply chain and the ICT infrastructure they want to monitor and secure. And the other model is a security awareness training platform that it's more addressed to both health professionals, our patients, and any other kind of stakeholders involved in the supply chain, that will be complemented by a chatbot app in order to make the training more interactive and engaging for this kind of users that normally lack the time and the interest to train about the possible and the potential impact of their daily practices regarding cybersecurity, security and data privacy. And then to interact with the platform services, SECAN will develop also two different kind of interface. For the security professionals, we are building a dashboard that will provide access to the threat intelligence model and the cyber risk assessment companion. And then for the rest of the users, we are developing an end user application, and will allow the non-expert end users to access the training platform, and also data about information about how the data is being used. We will validate all these models and the platform as a whole in 4 different pilot use cases, all in the healthcare sector. The first use case, protecting the connected ambulance of the future, is aimed at validating the SECAN's ability to improve the transportation safety and ensure that there is a zero-error delivery of patients that are transported using time-constrained and emergency medical services. The second use case, the health data protection in healthcare supply. This is the third one. This third one is designed to validate the capabilities of SECAN to ensure the privacy, the data protection, and the accountability in all these cases when operational data is being exchanged within the healthcare supply chain. The second use case it's the cybersecurity for connected medical devices and mobile app, and it will serve to validate the SECAN's efficiency to deal with the cascading effects of cyber threats, and also with propagated vulnerabilities in connected healthcare infrastructures, as well as in remote healthcare settings. And the last use case is focused on the training, and it will be used to validate all of our training models and the capabilities of these models to really deal with the needs of the different end users. So just to summarize what we think are the main innovations of the SECAN initiative, we are developing innovative risk analysis methodologies that can support both public and private organizations, as well as relevant stakeholders, to identify risks and vulnerabilities which might impact on the security and the privacy of the data in the supply chain. The models we are developing offer real-time information sharing capabilities that facilitates for cybersecurity professionals the handling and forecasting of security incidents, of complex attacks, and the propagated vulnerabilities. We are introducing a highly scalable directed acyclic graph-based ledger infrastructure that introduces innovations in the fields of trust and accountability, and enables also to protect in an end-to-end manner the integrity of sensitive and sensitive operational data. And at the end, as a whole, it allows for both technologically protecting the connected organizations, as well as empowering the users towards a better protection. So up to now, we are in month 16 of the project, if I'm not wrong. We have we have identified already the end user requirements and the technical requirements. We have also have complete a first version of the architecture of the platform, and we are now developing the first version of the different models. We are close to have a first version of all of them in 1-2 months, and we are now working on the planning to integrate them in a single platform, as well as defining and planning the pilot execution that will start early this year. So this is everything from what I wanted to explain you right now. I'm open to any kind of question.
Well, any questions up for this, or? Okay, so maybe, okay, so so the AC has recently funded a cybersecurity community initiative led by ECSO. So different communities around Europe are to support relevant networks. How important do you think is research and innovation activities such as SECAN and for SECAN to contribute to this?
For the recent community on cybersecurity, you mean?
Yeah, yes, the CCS and NCC network. Yes.
Well, I really think the results of the different research activities, in special on all the risk analysis, risk identification, could be really relevant. I was not just for SECAN, I was just hearing the other presentations today. We are most of us are working on technologies for the risk analysis, for identifying vulnerabilities in different sectors. So I think the results of all of this research might be really relevant for this kind of association, to share the different technologies, to share the different kind of risk and threats identified. So at least this is my point of view. I don't know, Dimitris, you're in the call, if you have any other aspect that you think can
No,
complement?
no. Hi, everyone. No, I totally agree with you.
Also, it could be good on all the training. I think the result of the validation on how the training is perceived and the level of, I mean, the level of awareness of security aspects and the impact of end users' activities when accessing interconnected systems. I really think it's also a very interesting input that this kind of association might have to know where to put the effort.
Yes.
I think it's a base for a very interesting discussion, at least for me.
Yes, probably. I mean, I don't know if you want to address this now. I mean, we are ahead of time anyway.
Yeah. Well, I was identifying, I was identifying during the webinar today some commonalities, some things where we are working on the same kind of topics, and I think this part that SECAN puts its focus in the part of understanding the risks that humans impose, since they are at the end the ones that are also accessing the systems. It's a key thing to understand. Sometimes we are developing a lot of technology and understanding is some of this risk posed by the users per se. I think is an interesting topic.
Any other takes on this matter? Maybe we do have 24 minutes ahead, right? No, 15 minutes ahead right now. So there is time if you want to open a discussion. Nick, I don't know if you want to use this time to gather any questions for the panel that will follow.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So obviously this afternoon at 1:30 we have the panel discussion, and we have a really large panel of speakers, including some of the people who presented all morning, basically this morning, and then other people as well from the consortium are joining. So we'll have lots of different perspectives from lots of different types of organizations as well. So, we have, for example, a representative from the Austrian Standards Organization, and also large industry, and obviously from universities. So it'll be quite an interesting discussion. Now, there's a series of topics on the agenda. So one is GDPR and data handling, which is obviously a topic which is addressed by a number of the projects. Another is security assurance. Approaches on the NIST directive and the NIST2 directive, of course, as well. And then also, as we touched on previously, standardization and security labeling, and how projects or what needs to be done for contributions for that. And interesting, related to that, there's a standardization booster service called HS Booster, which actually provides services to projects to help guide them to make sure that they are understanding the standards landscape and know which standards are available that they can use, and also to identify which standards they could actually contribute to. So the improvement of existing standards or the creation of new standards. And that's particularly important for any project working on artificial intelligence, where we expect the the standardization request from the Commission on that topic. So based on that, I wanted to just open things up to the panelists, but also to the participants, to see if there were any questions that you would like addressed in this afternoon's panel. So we haven't seen so many questions in the Q&A. We had a couple earlier on, but I wondered if there was anything beyond those topics or in addition to those topics that perhaps could be addressed later on at 1:30. So first of all, let's ask our panelists, and if you're listening and you have any specific points you'd like picked up in the afternoon, then you can pop them in the chat or in the Q&A box. So any of the speakers online, and are there any questions which you think are important, or not questions but topics we should specifically address in the afternoon?
Okay, I guess we can use the basis of the questions that we discussed internally as well, and I mean you can use the break time if you want to add any questions on the chat, and if anyone feels like a topic should be included, and I guess we could move on.
Sounds good.
We could. Yeah, I mean, we could keep the break on 1 hour. Okay, 1:30 the scheduled time. So see you in an hour. And people can take this advantage of this time to add any additional questions that and the topics that we have in mind already to discuss to make it more open.
Excellent. And then all of the presentations are now online. So we'll put the link where you can download them in the chat in just a second. Thanks, everyone. And have a good lunch.
Thank you, Nick and James. See you.
Thank you.